Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the day 6 of the Gyan program. I hope you are ready for yet another insightful day filled with engaging lectures and discussions. Yesterday, we had some truly fascinating sessions. We explored fermented traditional wine from palm trees, learning about its microbial, nutritional attributes, and health impacts, and also touched upon the biotransformation of food and feed, which opened new perspectives on how biological process can enhance food value and safety. Today, we have another exciting lineup that continues our journey into the world of food science, nutrition, and public health. Our first lecture of the day will focus on natural sweeteners, the relevance of food naturalness for consumers. This topic holds great importance, especially as more consumers today are seeking natural and healthier alternatives to traditional sugar and artificial sweeteners. Following that, we will move to our second lecture on integrated planning and governance for food security through fortification. This session will help us understand how fortification strategies and governance frameworks play a key role in ensuring nutritional security for populations worldwide. Post lunch, we will have a tutorial session, a classroom discussion on the importance of food innovation and food neophobia assessment. This will be an interactive session, giving us all an opportunity to share views and understand how consumer acceptance shape food innovation. And finally, we will conclude the day with lecture 3 titled Public Health and Innovative Foods, where we'll see how new advancement in food innovation are linked to improving overall public health. So, without taking much time, let's begin with our first lecture of the day. It gives me immense pleasure to invite Dr. Antonio Rapso to deliver his talk for this session. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. We are on our sixth day of this course. I hope you are enjoying it so much as I am. And tomorrow, today, we'll start this session talking about the natural sweeteners and the relevance of food naturalness for consumers. This is half of a project of a study. The other aspects we see here, the food security, sustainability, and health impacts, we will leave for another session, maybe planned for the not tomorrow because we'll have a stop, but for Monday we will keep the discussion on natural sweeteners. But today we will focus on the relevance of food naturalness for consumers. And it is important to mention that at least I think worldwide now consumers are looking for these allegations of being natural, not only for regarding foods, but I think about all the products. But of course, here we are discussing food-related aspects, and it's very important when someone is selling a food product that is alleged it is natural. People are looking for this, and sometimes they don't see other aspects related with that product, because of course doesn't mean that the fact of being natural is for sure better than the others. But from the perspective of the consumer, and of course industry is aligned with this, and the naturalness is very important today. So consumers are gradually becoming more aware to natural ingredients, while the growing importance of naturalness among consumers has meant key implications for the food industry, because of course it must be aligned with what consumers are looking for. So this could well have implications not only for developing and selling food, but also for the increase in emerging food technology. So it is possible that those food products not perceived as natural are not so well accepted as the other ones that are naturals. So by a lot of consumers in the majority of countries are looking for this. The demand for zero-calorie and naturally derived sweeteners has dramatically grown in the last decade because consumers are more mindful of their health. So, a part of being natural most of the consumers are looking for zero calorie, for these zero calorie products. And for decades, sweeteners have been used to make food more flavorful and to attract consumers. This is one of the most important things when we associate to sweeteners and to sweets. People want to consume sweet food, so they were first adopted because of high calorie sugar to diet ratio, and this favored obesity in general population, which became widespread, especially in children, in infants. And then, of course, if you have children with obesity, it's more than problem that it became an adolescent with obesity, and of course, all the problems related with it, and in the adulthood, the same. Thus, a low-calorie sweetener, example of saccharin, became available in 1980s, in the decade of 80s. So, as this sweetener was so popular, others followed, including the cyclamate, aspartame, and acesulfame K, which are the most widespread. We have more, of course, but these were perhaps the first one and the more popular between all of these sweeteners, and they have long since been the object of controversies and conflicts over these years, which have included allegations of liver and bladder toxicity, carcinogenicity, fetus malformation, along with other dangers. Whereas all these allegations have been investigated, and by time to time sweeteners were considered safe. Very recently, we conducted a consensus. It was held in the city of Lisbon with several experts from America, from European continent, to see and to study if these allegations any foundation, and what we concluded was that regarding its safety, we can assure that these sweeteners are safe. Although some loss of consumer trust remains, as some are not permitted in the US, while others are allowed in the European Union. One example of this is cyclamate and cyclamic acid, but not are permitted in the US. Okay, this is also the reason, the topic of some discussion and some controversies related with the consumption of some kind of these sweeteners. Hence, the need for natural substitutes is crucial. So, consumer perceptions of and attitudes to natural food products. What is happening with this attitude? So, humans are inherently connected to natural objects, so it should come as no surprise that most humans have clearly preferred natural foods in the last few decades. But, or however, from the natural science point of view, naturalness definitely does not imply that the food product is healthier, less dangerous, or tastier, although this is not how most people perceive naturalness. Most of people make this direct relation between the naturalness and the fact of food product being healthier than other one that is not, and being not dangerous, and being better from the point of view of of the organoleptic characteristics. So this is what is perceived by the population. The globalization and industrialization go end to end, hand in hand, with the more and higher risk that citizens' perception of modern hygiene risks. In the last years, last few decades, food safety incidents have impacted Europe, such as dioxin and bovine spongiform encephalopathy, and consumers are concerned about excess pesticide use by traditional industry agricultural methods, the employment of artificial ingredients, colorants, additives, and questionable food innovations like GMO, we have already talked here in this course, being introduced. So people are concerned with all of these, say, artificial products, and related, then of course, all everything what is not natural as harmful to their health. So this has made consumers suspicious or skeptical about the negative health consequences that this food system entails, and the growing public concern about what the food system does to climate change and its general negative impact on sustainability mean that consumers now question the social and the environmental consequences regarding with the production of foods. And consumer research has revealed that consumers have increasingly become more knowledgeable of food additives and more frequently prefer natural ones, natural additives to their artificial analogs. Like artificial sweeteners, which are capable of structural modification in the hope that better tasting analogs will be discovered, the natural ones must be used as are simply because any structural change made to a natural sweetener to improve its taste profile will destroy the natural proportion and position. If we make any modification in these natural products, natural sweeteners, of course, we are exchanging their properties and we are making them not natural. So they must be used as we can find them in the nature. So although the consumer interest level is high, identifying a natural sweetener with the requisite sensory quality is no trivial undertaking. So sometimes can be difficult to find um, the most appropriate natural sweetener with all these characteristics. And the most important things, most important aspects when selecting a sweetener have to do with its physicochemical properties, such as the thermostability, solubility in water, but of course also the production cost. And in some cases, you'll see that this production cost can be quite expensive, and of course, it's safety. The safety must be assured and its sweetness potency is relevant. That is to say, sweeteners can be classified in line with their increased characteristics, nutrition value, sweetening power, and the origin, if they are natural, synthetic, or semi-synthetic. Here we have this figure with some data about the relation of natural sweetness and the annual scientific production, the number of investigation of research papers that we can find related with the natural sweetness and also by country. And very interesting to see that regarding the countries of origin that this research came from, we can see that India is in third position. So this all over the world. We have as leader the United States, then China, and then followed by India. So here you have, of course, a very great interest on the natural sweeteners and their impact on sensory properties, the food structure of these compounds. And if we see, you have a very huge increase in the last few years, in the last 5 years, with most impact since 2020, as you can see in the first chart in the letter represented by the letter A. We see that since 2020 and 2019, perhaps we have a great increase of documents produced related with this topic. And we have also then on the letter B the type of publication that we can find in the literature. Of course, the most prominent is the articles, then followed by the books, and then the topics discussed in these papers, and from where they come, and they mostly come from agricultural and biological sciences. So it is. I think it is interesting matter that we can discuss further, of course. Here we have the sensory properties and also metabolic impact of natural and synthetic sweeteners, and we have the attitudes of different participants regarding the sweetness from very negative left to very positive to right. And sucre was viewed most positively, followed by Luohangu and Auloz, another two sweeteners, perhaps not much known from the most of the consumers, especially in the West, but Here we have the familiarity. Then we can see the percentage of participants that make that use, and see we have different opinions, of course, that come from daily and to never use these sweeteners. So here we have this scheme with the consumers, what make the consumer food choice and behavior, and of course the implications related with the industry. So we have psychological factors related with this choice, and regarding these psychological factors, we have the cognition, emotion, and also the motivation, the memory, and previous experience, what they learn to make this choice, and the personality traits and neophobic, as we have already discussed in the other day of the course. If I am available, or if I have willingness to try these new foods, or not, that I have never tried. Then you have also the biological and physiological factors regarding the age, gender, physical condition, sensory equity, the genetic factors, oral gastrointestinal physiology. So there are a lot factors and variables that can make the population make a choice in one way or in another. Then we have also the increasing product characteristics like the appearance, the taste, smell, texture, the complexity of adaptation. If we have some kind of aversion, then we have the sociocultural factors regarding the cultural economical influence. Of course, this will influence our food choices, the changing beliefs, the norms, the habits, attitudes, the trust in the industry and in the government. And then, of course, then we have also other situational factors can influence in some way our food choices. And here we have some examples like them intentional signification, the attribution, the coping, assimilation, the habituation, how we are habituated to consume some kind of food or not. Of course, we are more familiarized with one kind of food. We are more keen to choose some similar foods to that. So a lot of things, a lot of aspects can be related, and this can vary, of course, from person to person, from people to people, what they will choose in their routines to compose their diets. And of course, the sweeteners are not exception. So, society is becoming increasingly aware of the utmost importance of eating a balanced diet to maintain and promote health. This we have already discussed in depth, and I think this is obvious. And the excess of sugar consumption is one of the challenges. Is now a cross-cutting concern, but this habit is not an easy one to break. So sugar-free or low-sugar foods and drinks are in great demand, and the sweetening agents that make them feasible are our ingredients. So people want to feel this sweet taste, and we cannot simply say people stop consume sugar or stop to consume sweet foods. People know that this sugar, especially when consumed in very high amounts, is not good for health. But if all people know it, why its consumption is getting higher and higher, since the children to the elderly. So it is not easy to answer, because if you see this again, very aspects are related with the food choices, are related with what makes someone to opt for the consumption of one specific kind of food ingredient, not the other. So what makes people keep consuming these foods? and what can we do, what strategies can we think, can we do to make people at least keep consuming something that gives this perception of sweet, that keeps the sweet taste, but not being so harmful to their health, or even being healthy products, healthy food products. And this is where we can find these sweeteners, these natural sweeteners, to replace the sugar, so well-known sucrose, and to make people consume something that, apart from not being so harmful, in some cases have some positive benefits to the health of people. So today, the food industry applies bulk and intense sweeteners, which are mainly synthetic in origin, to substitute this common sugar, the sucrose, and consumers are all the more eager to eat products with natural ingredients and clean labels, preferably with other functional products, and that do not compromise the taste. So, additionally, safe practices during the process, flow, and packaging will eliminate the risk of contamination by extrinsic factors. To achieve this trend, the food industry now has alternative natural sweeteners, alternatives to the artificial ones, at its disposal, which offer consumers the advantage of additional health benefits. Of course, we have to study and to see the acceptance of the population of all these natural sweeteners we have that are a lot, and of course they can vary from region to region. With the globalization, we can have access to great amount of and diverse amount of natural sweeteners, alternatives to the artificial ones. But of course, in some places, the price will make a significant difference in the accessibility from the populations to those sweeteners, and of course we will have also differences in the taste they will potential in the final products, in the other products, and this will define how some populations if will consume more from this natural sweetener compared with the other. So now let's discuss a little about this, and let me know what natural sweeteners you most consume, and which natural sweeteners you have more present here in your country. I can then also say some examples of what we have in Portugal, in Europe, but of course more specifically in Portugal. So let me know uh, your point of view as a consumer and as, of course, citizens of India. Who wants to give the first step, make the first comment, question? What you have here to substitute the sugar cane, the sucrose? What alternatives you use on your? I have already tasted a lot of sweets from your gastronomy. Yes, all of them very tasteful, very good. Very differences in the taste. Of course, I think we're very rich also cuisine regarding the sweets.
So, very good morning,
Good
sir.
morning.
In India, it's very common to consume hot water with honey. Warm water, not hot. Warm water
Warm
with
water,
honey.
and yes,
So,
honey
it's a
would be
natural.
one of the elements that I will mention, that we have also production in Portugal, and we have also the habit of its consumption as naturally, only the honey. For example, some people use it with the tea. They mix the tea with 1 spoon or 2 spoon, it depends, of course, of honey. And in coffee, we have the very routine and a very frequent habit to consume coffee after the meals in the morning. In median, we can say that a Portuguese can drink about 3-4 cups of coffee during the day, and most of them usually add sugar, sucrose, to about 5 grams of sugar to that coffee. And one of the recommendations that some made is to not add the sugar and add a little bit of honey. But of course, honey has a lot of interesting properties, antioxidants, components, vitamins, of course, but we cannot forget that it has also sugar and calories. So it is not for being natural that we can consume with no restriction. This is important also to not only for honey, but also for these natural alternatives that, of course, has also caloric value associated. We must inform the people, okay, this is better than the conventional sugar you are accustomed to consume, but pay attention. A part of the good properties, beneficial properties, it has related with antioxidants, with vitamins, some micronutrients, of course, but it has also sugar. It is also caloric value associated. So we should consume it in high amounts.
Yeah, sir.
Yes.
So the sweets you consume that are made up of, some are made up of from milk and some are with some different ingredients. Milk sugar is also the part of that. Along with that, sucrose is added that is obtained from sugarcane.
Yes.
It's a bit processed one, not the direct sugarcane sugar we used in.
Yes, the refined.
Yeah,
Yes,
a bit refined, not too much refined.
yes, yes. Of course, then we have different grades of refining, but we are trying to substitute the consumption of sugar cane to other alternatives, and in some cases, if possible, simply don't use any sweetener, because in most of cases, a question of habit. For example, if the parents have the habit since they are children from the beginning of their life to add some sugar to the fruit to make them eat the fruit. This is very common in Portugal, because some children don't like the fruit. It is acid. I don't like. So the fathers add sugar to the fruit, and if we see we have more carbohydrates, sugars in that fruit, if parents give them a sweet. Of course, the fruit we have more elements, but those kids, those children are eating and are accustomed their taste to eat sweet. Is quite similar to the salt. If since the beginning of your life you are accustomed to eat the food with that quantity of salt, it's difficult when you are adult in the other stages of your life to eliminate to simple. So since now you can't eat more salt, you can't add more salt to your food, so for now you can't add more sugar to the food, and this is very complicated. This is also an education that we have to give to the parents, and the parents must give to the children, and of course in the schools we have to think on the kind of programs and actions to learn, to teach the children how they can have good and healthy habits. And here with the sugar consumption and the salt consumption are two of the main challenges we have, at least in the Western societies in Europe, to make people decrease the consumption of this. We have very, very, very high quantities of consumption regarding these two very harmful, as you know, ingredients. And all strategies you can think and reduce, or good alternatives for them in case of spices, herbs, in the case of salt. And here some kind of interesting alternatives that can bring some benefits to the health, instead of only the calories and the sugars of easy absorption. It is a value. It is something that we must think on.
I guess this is one of the reasons that causes obesity in
Of course,
children.
yes, obesity, diabetes, hypertension. So we have, if you see the main causes of death and chronic diseases, non-communicable diseases in our societies in Western are related with the consumption of this. Of course, the reason it is not only this, but this is one of the main reasons. And as I say, one of the factors we can modify. We can modify our genetics, we can modify our gender, we can modify the place where we live, but we can modify our food habits, we can modify our way of life, our lifestyle. We can make more physical activity or less. We can eat for more one food group or other. We can cook or we can prepare our foods in one way or in another way. So this is something that is on our hands to do. It is not on our hands to change our genetics, our other factors that, of course, have influence on all of that diseases, but that unfortunately we can't modify, and this has its importance and very big importance as well in our health and all these that diseases you mentioned. Yes, yes, that's one of the reasons.
Another combination that is used in India, specifically in northern parts of India, during the winters we consume hot milk with jaggery at night.
Hot milk with zagri. I think I
Jaggery,
have
yes.
already heard about this. It's a kind of brown.
Yes, 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 brown sugar.
Yes, brown
Basically,
sugar.
it's also prepared from the sugarcane essence, but it's not
Not
the
refined.
processed
No
one.
processed. Okay.
Too much. It's not too much processed. It's a bit processed.
Okay. So consider you can consider it more natural.
Yes,
More
yes, yes.
okay.
Compared to white sugar,
Yes,
it's
compared to what you.
yes, it's not that much refined as compared to white sugar. In some of the dishes, we also use jaggery as a sweetener, so it enhances the taste as well as color, flavor. All these things are enhanced using jaggery in some sweets.
Interesting, interesting.
Thank you.
Here, the consumption of white sugar is not so high, I believe. Then, at least I didn't see yet very people adding white sugar to the drinks or to they use another. For example, the what you mentioned, I've already heard about it, the jaggery or some other things, and not white sugar. Is that right? You haven't a very high consumption of white and refined sugar.
Yeah.
Yes, that was my perception from this test.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So my question is that is sweetener is a safest for pregnant women and children?
Which sweetener?
Artificial sweetener.
It depends on, and one of the reasons that this cyclamate and acid cyclamic has not been allowed to be consumed in the US is regarding the toxicity that it can have for the fetus, for not the pregnant woman, but it can provoke malformations on the fetus. But of course, then we have the European Food Safety Authority and other international authorities, not only for sacrament, but of course this is very well studied, and a lot of toxicity assays have been conducted in artificial, especially in artificial sweeteners, and what we found is the amount, the quantity of sweetener you have to intake to produce that toxicity effects, and the amount is very huge. It's not even real. You should for the effects that are found in rats, not in human models, of course, but in animal models of experimentation. You should, for example, drink about 300 cans of a soft drink that has 330 milliliters of soft drink to produce that negative effect in one day. So I think that nobody will drink about 300 cans of drink. So this is, and they are considered safe regarding their normal consumption. But of course, and everything, if you consume in excess, you will have problems with that. Even water, if you you consume a lot of anything or in a quantity that is more than reasonable, you will have problems. So it's the reason why these sweeteners are still being commercialized. And if you will search in the literature and in the regulatory bodies, you see that a lot of the assays, toxicological assays have been done in these sweeteners. Of course, then we have some allergic reactions, and people that can have some allergic reactions, some of the components and some of these sweeteners. And for example, the aspartame is one of those cases. Yes, especially for those who suffer from phenylcetonuria, that he can't intake the aspartame. But those are specific cases, and that happens with all foods. If you are allergic to some component of the milk or the yogurt, you can take it. So this is not because of they are artificial and not natural.
So one more thing, which natural sweetener is safest for the people with diabetes?
No, not that's an important point. These natural sweeteners, they have also a quantity of sugars. In most of them, we say people it's a better alternative because they have other properties that sugar cane, the white sugar, refined sugar, doesn't have. In white sugar, you don't have polyphenols, you don't have antioxidants, you don't have vitamins, you don't have micronutrients that in some of these natural alternatives you can find. But don't forget that you have also sugar on them. So you can say, and special for some people that, for example, diabetes, so you can consume this with no problem. No, we can say that. Yes, we must be very conscious on what we say and how we communicate, and particularly with those parts of the population. Yes. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, sir.
Very important point. Yes.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
First, before sharing, I just want to add on to her question about diabetes. We even say to the diabetic patients, even only you consume fruits, even fruits, only if your diabetic level is below 150.
Of course.
Whenever we recommend a diet or anything, I personally experienced because my father is a diabetic patient and he used to get
fructose in the fruit have also sugar, so it is
exactly. So actually, fruit also contains natural sweeteners. They don't even say you to daily consume fruits, not even weekly ones. They only say you first check your sugar level. If it is below this limit, then only you have to consume. So I think every natural sweetness is harmful for them. And next, I just want to share, in southern part, I don't know other parts, but in Kerala we get we locally call this as kalkandi. Like it's a palm extract, palm sap. So they dry it, crystal it. It's a form of palm crystals. So it is used as an natural sweetener.
you extract from the sap.
And
then you
dry it. Then it's like a form of crystals. So we call it locally as kalkandi.
Interesting. But in some cases, people don't appreciate very much some kind of natural sweetener because it will bring some specific taste to the what they want to sweet to the drink, to the food, and some of them have a very particular taste, and especially when they come from plants. In some cases, have a strong taste. For example, stevia, that I think it's very consumed. At least has been started to be very consumed in Europe. But in some cases, people identify a taste that they don't like very much. Apart of all things of being natural, of being good for health, so on. But in some cases, the taste, of course, it is also important. So people, similar to salt, that people are finding don't want a very different flavor. They don't want also very different flavor or taste when you are talking about the sweet. So if you add something, a natural sweetener, but that will bring a very different taste, perhaps it will be not so well accepted for most of the population. Of course, it's different when you are accustomed to it. But when you say stop consuming refined white sugar and introduce, for example, that to a natural sweetener like maple syrup, agave syrup, a lot of alternatives, honey, or that you collect from the palm trees, which flavor will be potential to the food. If you are accustomed, that's no problem. But if you are not, and if you start to with what are you accustomed to eat with white sugar, with that specific flavor, in sometimes it takes it is not so easy. That is also one of the problems, because all of these alternatives, especially these natural from plants, will bring a different flavor to the drink, to whatever you want to potentiate the sweetness taste. So this is one point that we must have in consideration, and not only analyze the physical-chemical composition, if they are high or low in the sugar contents, in vitamin and other contents. We have to pay attention, of course, to the taste. And if we bring a very strong taste, perhaps we will have problems in the acceptance of the consumer. The consumer will, in the first moment, think, "Oh, very good alternative, very healthy, very natural, perfect." But when we try, this is not so interesting for me. This is not interesting because this is very different from what I am accustomed to. You have to take that also in consideration. Very important point, yes.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So I have to add on to that because I'm also from Kerala. So the what she told kalkandam, it is similar to the sugar. It doesn't have a strong taste or flavor. It is just like the sugar. It is having that sugary taste only. And so one more thing is there. We are having some other thing, that is coconut jaggery, which is extracted from the coconut flour, coconut palm sap. Yes, it's a milky transparent liquid which is extracted from the coconut flour, and it is having a mild caramel flavor, but it is not that much strong that we can use it for baking, cooking purpose, and we can consume it raw also. But sometimes we will boil it and use it for cooking purpose, or sometimes we can consume it raw. So that is also.
Yes, I can remember from my experience, because I've already tested the sugar from coconut, and for myself, I think a very different flavor that I'm not accustomed for me. So I can feel the sweet taste. I have to add a large amount of coconut sugar to, for example, to coffee, that I usually put sugar on that. But if I substitute the white sugar for example, the coconut sugar, I have to add a lot of this coconut sugar to the coffee to feel something similar. Because if I have the same quantity of coconut sugar, that the quantity that I am accustomed to add the white sugar, impossible for me. It's very sour, very impossible to drink the coffee. So I have to add more than the double of the coconut sugar. And if we see, is that so interesting or not? Of course, we can talk about the all bioactive components, yeah, but the quantity of sugar, of carbohydrates, I am adding with that portion of coconut sugar, how interesting is compared with the refined sugar. So you have to see this, because if we substitute, but if we need to add the double or the triple, or to feel the same, is this so interesting?
And so, sir, we won't use it in tea or something. We will use it for baking of some
Yes.
desserts and all. So we will use like that in Kerala.
Yes, I have also an experiment that I made once with my students, as to in the kitchen, to prepare a dessert that we have tradition prepare a Portuguese dessert recipe with the white sugar that we normally use, and then some of the students say, "Oh, let's try to do it with artificial sweetener." Okay, let's try. But of course, I already know that the taste nobody will can eat that, and they make it with artificial sweetener with aspartame, I think, and then the flavor impossible. You have there 0 calorie dessert with no sugar, no wonderful, but the taste nobody could eat it. So this is very important. The sensorial, the organoleptic characteristics, you have to take it into consideration because if the end product will not be pleasing, people will not consume it. So we can think, we can have the idea, let's substitute this by this. But then you will consume it, the population will accept it, and that is the most important thing because otherwise it is waste it is a waste of time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So, what are the major challenges for producer in scaling up natural sweeteners production while keeping cost and sustainability in mind?
Yes, that will depend, of course, of the region, of course, of the natural sweeteners, and for example, some of these natural sweeteners and we are not nature from our countries. For example, in Portugal, if we go to the supermarket, we have access regarding maple syrup, but we haven't production of maple syrup in Portugal. They come mainly from, for example, from Canada. We have agave sweetener that came from Mexico. This is the good point of globalization. But for regarding sustainability, of course, for local producers, if this consumption is starts to be interest in these products worldwide from the economic point of view, that can be very interesting. Another thing is regarding the natural resources they have, and in some cases may be limited, but this will make, of course, the price getting higher and getting more difficult. In special case, for example, of maple syrup, the prices can be very, very high because this is mainly produced in Canada. No other places in the world have the conditions to produce it, and on only in specific seasons of the year, and so the prices can be very, 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 very high. But as a very significant relevance for their producers, for their locations in the large scale or medium scale production of this sweetener. Of course, it will depend on the type of sweetener in the region, but it can its relevance from the economic point of view for sure, and for the local producers. Yes, yes, it will depend. It will
So,
depend.
there is one more question. How do price consideration affect consumer substitution from sugar to natural sweeteners, especially among low-income groups, as there are many low-income groups in India?
How can we influence the consumers to make the substitution of sugar
Considering the price increase.
if it is rising? Yes, and you can see not only for what the people, for what the consumers are allocating, but also with the food we have available and their sales on the market, and even in the restaurants, people asking for sweeteners and not for sugar. For example, in Portugal, we have this perception, a very good perception, because we see that you have that routine of add sugar to the coffee. And some years ago, most of people add real sugar, white sugar, and now we have a lot of people, some not adding nothing, that is good, and some other people asking for sweeteners. So this is a modification that we can easily see in Portugal. One of the modifications we can easier see in the consumption trends and in the habits of the people. So we have a lot of people that at this time don't consume coffee with anything. So coffee naturally. I can't, but we have there a lot of people that do it, and some other ones that replace the white sugar for other alternatives. So this is one practice that very, very easy to see in Portugal. I don't know here if you have some example that some years ago you know about one specific kind of food or drink that people usually consume it by the addition sugar cane or white sugar, we define sugar, and now with this transition or with this changing in technology that people have more, are changing also their habits and their routines and substitute them that sugar by some other alternative. I don't know if you have any example of that.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, I want to add something in their point
Yes.
that I'm from Bengal and we have some natural sweeteners like Nolengu. It is a form of jaggery.
Nolengu?
Yes, sir. It is a form of jaggery that is collected from dates tree.
Okay.
Okay.
Date.
Dates. So it is a amazing taste. It's so that's it.
Yes, thank you. Yes. Yes, you have a lot of also natural kinds of products that can add sweet to the and come from the fruits,
Yes, sir.
right? You
Yes,
have
sir.
more examples
No, date.
apart of the dates and from the palm.
Yes, sir.
You have some other examples of other fruits or other trees that you extract to use it as sweeteners.
Sugar cans even.
Yes, sugar cane. Yes, but apart of the sugar cane and the
Sugar beets.
okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, I want to share my experience regarding sugars. My father is diabetic and he loves to eat sweets, but he couldn't eat due to the diabetic level. And he has also very suffered from very dietary restrictions, like he couldn't have rice or milk, etc. And fruits also, like some like mangoes, and which are very sweet in taste, so he cannot eat them also. But he eats in little quantity all the sweets. So, sir, there are any sweeteners which could be consumed by diabetic people which doesn't increase their sugar level?
Well, of course, it's very difficult to manage it, and not only the action or the behavior with the sweeteners, but what you will eat joined with the sweetener to not elevate the blood sugar. That is the problem, and we have to find some strategies to combine the consumption of that sweets with sugar, for example, with other kind of food with a lower glycemic index, with a rich content of fiber, for example, that will lower the absorption of that sugars. Because if you keep consuming all of that sweets with high sugar content and with nothing, it's a problem, and more emphasized when you are already a diabetic. So we have to find some strategy, and of course decrease the quantity of sugars that perhaps your father is accustomed to consume. But apart of that, to implement or to introduce some other foods that can help to get a lower absorptions of that sugars.
Thank you, sir.
That is fundamental. Yes.
You should also keep in mind, like when you are giving what type of food. Timing is very important for diabetic patient. If you are giving high glycemic index and adding sugar at dinner meal, so then it's very dangerous for a diabetic patient. You can cheat the meal during the breakfast or lunch, but not with the dinner. It's also very important. Another thing, as I mentioned, fiber rich food. You can combine fruits with salads or something like that. Another thing is rice. So you can mix rice with the like in a plate. You can, if you have carbohydrate as a source of rice as a source of carbohydrate, then you should keep in mind that the portion of rice should be less and the portion of salad and vegetables should be more. In that, in this type, you can balance your meal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other question?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Actually, earlier people also used sugar cane, just like syrup, used as natural sweeteners. Okay, but traditional people, modern people cannot use this types because their color is generally blackish. If we make it tea, na, it is a blackish. So all people. So their refined form is the sugar, that means the chini in Hindi. So earlier in my home also, earlier no, today also in my home also prepared tea by Zegri.
By zagging.
Yes, Zegri. In UP, one district, Saharanpur, worldwide famous there, Zagri and also sugarcane
Okay.
export from India. It is a very high grade and quality
Yes,
of.
interesting. Yes, because you, for example, with the tea, you have the habit to add something to give that sweetness taste. Yes, is that correct? And the zagri is the most common you use, isn't it?
In Zagri, don't they refine?
Yeah.
If we refine and process, na, definitely their color is white also.
Okay.
Okay, so, but in maybe many villagers and in farmers, they use what is a big what is
A ten.
big yeah, big pan,
Big.
and they slowly heat the sugarcane juice.
Okay.
Slowly, they turn into the
Okay.
generally Zagri, not
Okay.
process at all.
Not processed at all. Yes, less processed then, of course. Okay.
This is the good for health,
Okay.
but their color is very blackish,
Okay.
and people
People
not accept it.
doesn't accept it. Okay. Okay. I see. I see. Anyone? Yes.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
My question is, what challenges does food industries face while formulating natural sweeteners?
Yes, food companies always have the challenge to offer the people what they're looking for. So, because if they offer products to the people, the products that people are looking for, they have more probability of being successful in their sales. So we see a lot of merchandise marketing. I don't know here, but in last years in Western societies, you see a lot of merchandise of promoting everything what is natural. Not only foods, but of course, food is what of our concern. And the natural foods, it doesn't matter even nothing more. The properties, the health impacts. Now, being natural is very well seen from the population. So in these times, the food industry and the food companies, of course, want to have more natural products as they can to offer this to people because this is selling. When people go to the market, are looking for natural products. Of course, they must work on bring to the market products at a reasonable price that can allegate that are natural. So, and some of these natural alternatives, and speaking about natural sweeteners, the price is very different from the white sugar. So this is the great challenge: bring to the market, bring to the people these natural sweeteners at a reasonable price. Not the main challenge is not the best product from the point of view of nutritional profile of health benefits. Most of kinds of food industry, this is in second stage. First is a product that I can sell, a product that people can pay for it. So, and in some cases, for example, 1 kg of sugar cane in white sugar, refined white sugar in Portugal, less than €1. But if you will see some alternatives and honey that we have also production, but not 20J, no, far from that. Perhaps 200 grams, 300 grams at most, easily more than 5 euros, 4 or 5 euros. So the difference is huge. And if we see another alternatives like the coconut sugar, the agave syrup, the maple syrup, this can be even higher because we have to import and their production are different of sugar cane. So we are not talking about the difference of money of slightly difference. We are talking about a huge difference. And when people, of course, are looking for natural and healthier options, but when they arrive to the shop and see the price, I can't pay for it, or at least I can experience one time to see, but frequently and to introduce it in their daily diets, it is not easy. A part of the taste, a part of the acceptance, but the price is a very determining factor. And one of the challenges, of course, for the industry is to find a product with a less production cost to get the people a reasonable alternative, not only from the point of view of taste, of their acceptance of taste, but regarding price. And that is not so easy, at least at this point, for the most of people. Another thing, if you have, for example, a farm, and if you produce honey, of course you have you can access to it at a lower price. But for general population, it is not so cheap product as white sugar. One of the great challenge I believe is that.
Also, are there any sustainability concerns regarding sourcing of these natural sweeteners?
That is what I've talked about. It can be very interesting for some local producers that produce those products in small quantities, but of course, if we can find some way of producing them large scale, that will have a very important economical relevance. Of course, regarding the natural availability of these resources, they must be controlled if we start to produce in large amounts. And some of them, it's not possible to produce in so large amounts. And I give the example of maple syrup, and you can find also some commentaries on the production and of that it has a very high value, very economic value, because the places in the world where we can find and the conditions to extract from the trees and the maple are very few, and this is a seasonal product. Of course, the large scale, giving the example of maple syrup, it is very difficult, and that's the reason why we have the prices we have for its products. So in some cases, it will not be easy because the natural resources are not infinite. So that's one of the reasons. Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, I would like to add on something. In India, we also use mulethi, also called as liqueur rice. So we use the powder of it, and it is being used like from the 4,000 years. The Ayurveda use it, as it have many good properties. Like it is very good for digestion. It maintains blood pressure. Then it also boosts immunity, and it is very good for cough and cold also. So we use it as a natural sweetness in our food, or we consume it like normally.
Great.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
There are many calories. There are many 0 calories natural sweetener. If I am not wrong.
No, the most of these natural sweeteners are not 0 calories. When we are talk about 0 calories, they are more related with artificial sweeteners. These natural sweeteners have calories. Okay, uh, we must take that in consideration. Is what I told. For example, the case of the honey, we can say the people, okay, substitute the white sugar and start to consume honey with no restrictions regarding the amounts you consume of it. No, because it has calories, okay? It has sugar. It has sugar. The question is, we have other elements, other components much more interesting than the white sugar. So, and this occurs also, I believe, with the examples you are mentioning you consume here in India, and the other examples I've already gave, the coconut, the maple, I gave these sweeteners, these natural sweeteners, and calories. Yes, pay attention with it. But when I'm talking about zero calories, of course, about sucralose, about aspartame, cyclamet, those sweeteners, yes, in this case they have zero calories.
Then my question is that what are the components present in that makes them sweeter in taste?
Sugar,
Zero calorie sweeters
zero calories. The components
makes them sweeter.
they will potentiate the sweet taste on the foods. They are produced in the lab with that goal, and they have in their composition, in their chemical structure elements. Then when they be added to the foods, will increase this sweet taste.
Only artificially.
Artificial sweetness, yes.
Okay, so thank you.
But in some cases of natural sweeteners, the total amount of calories are even lower than the sugar cane. Okay, it is not the same adding sugar cane, but then of course we have to analyze case by case. But pay attention, we have calories associated with its consumption. It is not to recommend that you can eat as you want. Because some people see that, oh, this is good for health, I can substitute the consumption of white sugar with this alternative, so I will consume with no restrictions, and that is a mistake that most of people make, and we have to be cautious and to tell people, attention, of course this is a better option, a better solution, but not to consume in high amounts or free of exemption of harmfuls. Yes.
Okay, sir, one more. What are the effects of natural sweeteners on weight management?
What are?
Effects of natural sweeteners on weight management.
It will depend on the natural sweeteners because you have so huge amount and diverse natural sweeteners. We can talk about that in that general way. It's like the same question what regarding food. Which food? You have to analyze case by case.
Raw honey?
Sorry?
Raw honey.
Honey, yes.
Honey.
What are the benefits regarding the
Effects on weight management.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Effects on weight management.
I don't understand, sir.
Effects of honey on body weight management.
If you eat honey, what happens to our organism, yes?
Effects of honey.
Effect on weight management.
Body weight management.
Of course, you have to consume it in the daily diet in the amount you need. Of course, you have to take into consideration the quantity of calories associated with its consumption. And for example, to make the total account of the calories that you will consume on that day, you have to take into consideration the total of calories, fats, and macro components associated, of course, with the consumption of calories that you will consume honey. And it's different if you consume 5 grams per day of honey or if you consume 10 or 100. So this will represent different quantities of calories, but not only calories of sugar that will be taken into consideration on your daily diet. Of course, we have to make that account. We cannot neglect that values because they are very important. It's like the white sugar. We have to account the calories when you add sugar to the foods. It's like the same with the salt. When you add extra salt to the food, you must take in consideration the total of sodium chloride you are adding to the food because you have the recommendations not to consume, to intake more than 2000 milligrams per sodium per day. So the sodium is present in the foods, but if you add extra, you have to count on it. The same with sugar. If you add sugar, if you add honey or other sweetener as well, it has carbohydrates. So you have to take this amount, these values into consideration. That is an important point. Yes, yes, of course. Thank you for asking.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, are natural sweetener are suitable for all population, including diabetes patient and children?
Yes, it can be. It depends how you use them. Quantities in incorporating in a diet with or other foods, but of course it can be a solution and preferable, of course, for sure, when compared with white refined sugar. Yes, yes, of course. Can be and depends of course which sweetener of course this will also have different impacts. It depends the sweetener we are talking about and how we will consume it and which quantities this is impact, but of course we can think on it for children, for different strats of the population. Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
No more questions. Yeah, friends.
Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning.
Previously, you asked about sweeteners that is extracted other than from date, palm, and sugarcane. So there is a flower that is called mahua.
Mangua.
Mahua. Its botanical name. I don't know. Like, it's a flower that is handpicked, sun dried, and then sugar syrup is extracted from that. It's more like maple syrup and honey, but it is more rich in nutrient content than your maple syrup and honey. So yeah, I wanted to add it that there's also a flour which is used for sugar and it's very good. Some people says that it has a little bitter taste after like in the end.
Yes,
But
that's
yeah,
some.
it's like
Sometimes it occurs
the
some
flour is
aftertaste,
rich in sugar and nutrients. So yeah, that's a good uh, alternative for sweetener.
and that's
Sweeteners.
typical from here,
Yes,
from each region. Near.
central northern parts, like
Mm,
northern and central parts of India.
okay. So near where we are. No?
Bihar, in there's some part of West Bengal where also it is found. So
Interesting. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, my question is, what are the long-term effects of natural sweeteners?
It depends the natural sweeteners. That kind of questions we cannot pose. What are the long-term effects of consumption food? I ask you.
Sir, depends on.
It's the same. I have not an answer to that. It will depend on the natural sweetener, and of course, when we are talking about long-term effects, some of this we have not traditional consumption. You have, of course, to take studies, to take long-term studies to see the long-term effects. But then I can make another question: long-term effects in which perspective? In safety, in the obesity management, diabetes management, blood. That's a kind of question that I am very difficult in answer because it will depend, it will depend, it will depend. It's my answer to your question.
Sir, but some natural sweeteners raises cardiovascular disease and heart stroke, like monk fruit mixed with the stevia.
Yes, but depends the natural sweeteners. Once again, we must see case by case. One can be very interesting from one perspective and the other from other perspective. What we see is that, in general, generally speaking, the natural sweeteners, some of them have lower content in sugar. They still have but lower content when compared with only compared because we want to substitute the sugar cane refined white sugar. So we have to compare with this product. So some of them have lower sugar contents, and apart of this, we can find in this alternative some other interesting properties regarding micronutrients, regarding polyphenol, regarding antioxidant components. So this is, but also regarding all these components, we will find very discrepancies and differences in these contents when we are talking about, for example, maple syrup or agave syrup or honey, and even in honey we have different kinds of honey that also varies their composition. So you have to study each one. What we know is they have this interesting components, well studied, of course, in other food matrices, and they will bring benefits. But then the consumption, and in long term, you have to study, you have to see. Thank you.
Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning.
I want to share something about stevia ribaudiana. It's a plant of widely cultivated in South America. They are used as a natural sweetener from the centuries. Actually, it is good for health, like anti-diabetic, antioxidant, and blood sugar management, and lowering the blood pressure. When we add to the erythritol, it causing some heart problems like that. In that stevia have a stereosides and glycosides as giving the intentional sweet with zero calories.
Yes, regarding stevia, the most common problems, at least from my experiences and also from my experience of tasting and the consumption there in Portugal, is the acceptance, because it will brings a different taste to the drinks, the foods, and most, not say the most, but a large amount of people don't want to use it because they give a very particular flavor that they are not accustomed and they don't accept. So that is the most relevant issue regarding the consumption of stevia, at least in Portugal, that in last years we have in our markets. Not so many years ago, but I think about 5 years, more or less. And we see, and of course, the price of that sweetener, and very, very high compared with others. So, with this, it is difficult to have the population huge consumption of, even it is good for health, even when you have high price and the different taste that people are not accustomed, it is difficult for us or for someone who wants to recommend or to make the people eat more. You have these barriers that we can't ignore, because they are there, and people go to the market and see 4 or 5 higher the price compared with the other alternatives, and then if people taste and see what's this, and like, I will pay more and for something that I don't like. That's a huge problem.
Thank you.
Not only from stevia, and most of plant products have this characteristic. They will bring a very specific flavor that some people at the end will not accept very well. A part of the price, a part of everything. People must learn to. It's like the spices, the species. People are not accustomed to it. So you have there a different element that will bring a different and particular taste. It will take time, and it will be difficult for make the global population to introduce it, to try to accept it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we are on time. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an engaging and insightful presentation. Your talk gave us a clear understanding of how consumers today are becoming more conscious about natural ingredients and how this shift is influencing the food industry. The way you explained the evolution of sweeteners from synthetic ones to safer, naturally derived options was truly informative. You also highlighted how perceptions of naturalness often shape consumer trust and food choices, which was quite thought provoking. Thank you once again, sir, for sharing your valuable knowledge with us. Now we'll take a short tea break. I invite all the participants to join us for some refreshments. Please be back by 11:30 a.m. for the next session. Thank you.